Hey guys, how you doing today? I'd like to start this video just by really thanking some of the people who have been saying such sweet things um, on my messages. People have been saying things like, I should run for office. I'm the only one who's making sense, which I don't think is true, but that's very sweet to say. And I don't think I'm very well positioned to be able to run for office, but that's very sweet of you to say. Thank you so much. A friend of mine has reminded me to remind everybody to like, share, and subscribe these videos. Apparently, just the act of asking really helps. And so I'm going to start doing that at the start of these videos. Please like, share, subscribe. It makes me feel good. Anytime somebody likes these videos or shares or subscribes them, it really makes me feel nice, just on a human-to-human level. Forget about like growing anything or this channel becoming anything. I just on a human-to-human level, it feels good. Today, I mean, one of the big things I always talk about is the rise of fascism in North America. It's become obvious in the States, what with the unmarked police vehicles and unmarked police people essentially kidnapping people off the streets and detaining them in undisclosed locations in Portland, and the director of Homeland Security confirming on national television that not only is this going to be the new strategy on a national level, this is also going to, he has also refused to leave the state when requested by the governor of said state. So, this is fascism. America is now essentially a fascist state and should be treated as such. And here in Canada, I'm very wary of the same sort of behavior beginning, and it is beginning to happen in Alberta under Jason Kennedy. No, he's not handsome enough to be a Kennedy. Kenny. He's more like a Kenny, right? Just a Kenny. Sorry to all the Kennys out there. I just realized it's the first name. I bet Kennys get really, really shit on because of South Park. I bet Kennys take a lot of flack. Oh my god, they killed Kenny. I bet if your name is Kenny, you've heard that your whole goddamn life, and I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm sorry for you, Kennys. I am. I'm lucky. I'm just a John, right? No, it's average. People call me, what are they going to call me, toilet? Oh no. So in Alberta, a video is started to go viral, and I've shared it on my own Facebook page. A video is going viral that shows a police officer essentially judo throwing what looks to be probably a 65-year-old man who was not resisting arrest, who was just standing calmly, and then kneeling on his head. So the police officer judo throwed a 65-year-old man, and then proceeded to kneel on his head and handcuff him, knocking the old man unconscious. And in the video, you can see pools of blood coming out of this man's head as he is unconscious. And you even capture the videographer, the person who videoed the event, even captured the moment where the police officer realizes that he has fucked up. And the police officer realizes that he has made a grave mistake. Fascism is rising here in Canada. Police brutality is rising. And I think it's rising for a, like, if all you do is raise funds on the police, right? If all you do is fund the police because they'll protect us, that's their job. The police's job is to protect us, right? If that's how you believe, then every situation needs to be solved with violence, because that's what the police are. The police are a violent force. They have the monopoly on violence in the society. And if that's all you ever fund, then that's all you're ever going to get. And men like Jason Kenney is a fascist, by the way. Like, pretty obliquely, pretty upfront. Men like Kenney believe that violence is a solution to problems instead of the perpetuation of problems. Because Kenney and men like Kenney care about themselves. They don't care about the consequences of their actions or what happens on the wider world. They care that people stay out of their business. So, and now you're starting to see in Alberta, the government is beginning to surveil opposition parties. They're beginning to surveil the NDP. They're beginning to act in many ways as fascist governments in the past have acted. Now, we'll see to what degree that goes, but we are experiencing the upswing of fascism in this country, and if we don't actually stand up and fight back against those fascists, it will only continue to decline. Now, let's not mince words or pretend like Canada is this wonderful, glowing place. Canada is America Junior. We've managed to get more social policies through because, frankly, we have a smaller population. And a smaller population is able to get things done more quickly. We also haven't really fooled ourselves as much as the Americans have into this idea of individualism. Which is why I think Canada joins the rest of Europe and the rest of the world in engaging in very simple actions to combat things like the coronavirus. I'm not really seeing much protest and many people complain in a serious way about needing to wear masks, for example. People complain, obviously, because it's fun to complain, and masks is something we can all complain about. It's not fun to wear these masks, but they're necessary, and they're important, and they're the number one thing that the society can do. And places that have already had a culture of wearing masks have more successfully combated the coronavirus. So when requested, right, we all get together, we all make this decision because we're adults, we put the masks on, right? That puts us a step above America, where there is a pretty significant protest movement against masks, where masks are seen as an affront to their civil liberties, which, I mean, that's a joke. That's a joke. If you clamor for rights without accepting responsibilities, you're not an adult. You're a child. If you want to have rights, you need to take responsibilities. Which, it's very funny that I have to say that to the right wing, who claims to be responsible, who claims kind of a monopoly on responsibility. Even though they're the least responsible people, they take the least amount of responsibility in the society, right? They don't really respect what has been given to them. They don't really respect much of anything. They respect themselves, and that's about it. And any challenge to their authority, I guess, that's not even really the word. Just any chance to their deluded fantasy that they're an important person. Yeah, that's closer, right? Any challenge to their deluded fantasy that they're an important person is seen as this great affront that needs to be quelled through violent force, right? And this is why the police need to be defunded. We need to defund the police. Absolutely. Not eliminate the police, because I'm not an idiot. Uh, but we definitely need to remove the police as the primary option, right? The use of force and violence is absolutely the last option. It's without a doubt. It is the last option on the table. It shouldn't be the first go-to. It shouldn't be the thing that we're all reaching for. It should be done seriously. It should be taken seriously. And it shouldn't be the first thing that we reach for. I'm not going to pretend like there aren't moments in the society where it's important that we have people who are willing to put their own safety on the line in order to protect other citizenry. I think that that's something that does need to happen in the society. But the idea that this is option 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, or 6, or 7, or 8, or 9, or 10, to me is absurd. Like, I feel like a lot of the arguments that get used by the police force for reaching to violence, a lot of the things that I've heard the police say that they've had to tolerate or put up with, I think if I heard that come out of some of the mouth of my staff at my retail establishment, I would retrain them. I would retrain them, and because people put up with a lot of crap, and we train people to de-escalate, and I expect people to de-escalate, and I would expect the police to de-escalate. And the video I saw today was not a de-escalation, right? The video I saw today was an assault of an old man who may have been trash-talking this police officer. I mean, you're arresting him, probably for nothing. So, like a 30-year-old, judo throws a 65-year-old man and smashes his head on the pavement so that he bleeds everywhere. Why in the world did he ever think that that was a good idea? And why in the world would anyone continue to allow him onto the streets after doing such a thing? Like, it's very clear that this was his first line, that this is the first thing he decided to do. It's pretty clear. And I am growing more and more concerned that violence is going to become more and more the first thing that the powerful do. That negotiation is going to go out the window, that threats of violence are going to become the primary force of communication. And I'm seeing it happen here in Canada. Alberta is worse. Alberta is worse because Capital is attempting to defend its old systems, fossil fuel extraction, and it can't. And when capitalism decays, as I've said in these videos before, when capitalism decays, it takes off the smiling mask and becomes fascism. Because fascism is just capitalism is just fascism wearing a smiling mask. It's the inherent violence in the capitalist system is built in, and it reveals itself when it's threatened. And capitalism reveals itself as fascism once it feels threatened, or once it feels like it has something to gain by using violence, such as the genocide of the First Nations people, right? Capitalists had a lot to gain by creating a genocide on the First Nations people. Lots of land, lots of resources, lots of slaves, right? And I'm seeing the same kind of pattern throughout the United States now, and I'm beginning to see the same pattern here in Canada. And it's very, very troubling that our leadership is beginning to accept that standing up against capital means that you need to be surveilled, as in you are part of a police surveillance state, and for political purposes. And I assume as this moves forward, political opponents will begin to be targeted. I feel like there's a real weakness on the left right now in regards to being far more suspicious when major left figures die. And it's odd to me that there's this narrative that exists on the left that if a left figure suddenly dies, it's disrespectful to be suspicious of the manner in which they died. So recently, Michael Brooks of The Michael Brooks Show passed away. Rest in peace. He had a stroke. I think we have every reason to be suspicious of this. And I don't think we should pretend like... I don't think we should pretend like things like strokes, cancer, heart attacks can't be generated. The American military is like a multi-trillion-dollar organization. Of course they have weaponry that can do that to a person. They'll tell you about it. They'll gladly tell you about it. And I'm very concerned that that kind of warfare is going to be used to target political figures moving forward. I am not accusing anybody or saying anything like Michael Brooks was definitely murdered. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that in this current climate, we would be right to be suspicious. And we would be right to expect investigation. And I think it would be rational to want to investigate the death of Michael Brooks. Just like I think it's rational to want to investigate more closely the death of other political figures that have suddenly died because of natural causes. Because of things like cancer, because of things like sudden strokes. Like Che Guevara, right? The Chavistas are quite open about how they feel that Che Guevara was murdered, right? Even though he died of a natural event. And I even take a look at people like Jack Layton here in Canada, who died of cancer. Pretty timely, right? That's pretty good timing. Just as he was right on the path to become the Prime Minister of this country. Interesting timing. And it's interesting how there's timing like that happens. Anyway, this is delving into conspiracy theory. And I try very hard not to delve into conspiracy theory. I used to be a 9/11 truther. I'm pretty open about that. I went pretty deep down the 9/11 truth path, and it was Noam Chomsky who rescued me from that. I love talking about 9/11 truth, just as a sort of brain experiment and just as a fun topic of conversation. But Noam Chomsky said, well, let's say we prove that 9/11 was an inside job and that George Bush was at the core of it. Let's say we prove that. Okay. So what? George Bush is guilty of actual war crimes that have been recorded. We watched him do it. And he hasn't received any punishment. Why would this be any different? And I was like, yeah, there you go, Noam. That's a good point. That's a real good point. Like, so So it just turns into another like fake moon landing or Kennedy assassination or coronas caused by 5G, right? Like it's this kind of interesting topic to dwell on, but it is a waste of time. And we should be focusing, because really what it does is it detracts from the real conversations that need to be had, and the real crimes that are going on. And I'm very concerned that very soon in the future, we're going to see more and more of those very real crimes right in front of our face. Oh, I'm always a cheerful guy, eh? I'm always a fun guy. This is my like 20 minutes of misery is what this is. I think there's something important about doing it. There's something important about having these 20 to 25 minutes of misery. Something cathartic about it. And it's nice to know that there are people watching, and it's nice to know that there are people who share this view, and it's nice to know that there's this little odd community of people who are coming together to have this moment of catharsis together. I'm so grateful and thankful that there are people who even listen to this. I don't quite understand it. I have to be honest. I don't quite understand why I need to do it, and I don't quite understand why you need to listen to it. But I'm glad that you do. I'm glad that I do it, and I'm glad that you do. I guess like, share, subscribe. It feels very odd to say. It feels very odd to say. Like, share, and subscribe to my misery. All right. With that, guys, please keep fighting the good fight. Keep doing the good work. Join a protest. I'm organizing a protest on September 1st to go to Doug Ford's house. Because fuck that guy. For real. And I think that at this stage in the game, we need to be taking to the streets. We need to be sustaining that energy. We need to be shutting things down. We need to be causing problems. I'm not seeing much of that in Canada. I'm concerned about that. Because we're not immune. We're not immune to what's going to come our way. And it's right on our doorstep. And in certain provinces in our legislative buildings. So, good luck. Have a drink. Try to smile. Try to smile. God, try to smile. Even if you fake it. Alright, good luck out there, guys. Thanks for watching.